There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello there, you're watching the press preview, a first look at what is on the front pages. Time to see what's making the headlines with the Daily Mirror columnist Kevin Maguire and the former First Minister of Northern Ireland, Baroness Foster. Welcome, lovely to see both of you. Plenty to discuss, as ever, so let's take a look at the front pages. And according to The Eye, a former head of the Institute for Fiscal Studies think tank has warned that imposing a council tax levy on properties worth more than £2 million would only be a temporary sticking plaster for the economy and could be easily mismanaged. The Daily Mail reports the Chancellor is set to slash the annual cash ISA limit from £20,000 to £12,000 in Wednesday's budget. The Daily Express writes about the Chancellor's warning that rising bills are the chief concern for OAPs ahead of her budget. The Financial Times reports that the US and Ukraine are said to be in a positive frame of mind over a redrafted peace plan that would leave sensitive decisions to President Zelensky and Trump. The paper notes, however, that the Kremlin has yet to see the proposals. The Guardian hears that government sanctions imposed on unpaid carers are to be reviewed after an inquiry found that many of the punishments were handed out in error. The Metro carries an exclusive reporting that perpetrators of domestic violence will be subject to protection orders that bar them from being within a certain distance of their victims, with the threat of prison if those orders are breached. The Telegraph leading with the BBC in disarray over bias claims as Chairman Samir Shah was questioned by MPs today, amongst others. And in the Sun, Jane Goody's ex, Jeff Brazier, splits from his wife, Kate Dwyer, after 7 years. Well, we're joined by Kevin Maguire and Baroness Arlene Foster. Welcome to both of you. So, budget. Not
again.
Long now. Again.
We're nearly there.
We're nearly there. We've nearly made it. I mean, I do think people are absolutely exhausted by this stage, to be fair.
Exhausted, fascinated, and we still don't know necessarily what's going to be there.
No.
What are the papers hinting towards tonight, then? Why don't you kick off?
Well, the Eye paper is talking about this mansion tax, which has come into view over this past couple of days, and the former IFS chief, Paul Johnson, is saying that it's a sticking plaster and it risks being mishandled. And of course, it doesn't apply right across the UK because in Northern Ireland we have a different system. We have a rate system. We don't have a council tax system. And there isn't a Barnett consequential. So this will be, I think, just an England and Wales issue. I don't think it's an issue in
It's a
Scotland
southeast.
as well.
It's a southeast
Well,
tax.
fair enough. Fair enough.
London is 85%.
London
Because Wales did actually reband some time ago, but in England it's still using the 1991 system that was brought in after the poll tax community charge collapsed and destroyed Margaret Thatcher and John Major.
Which is quite incredible when you think about it.
Yeah, it is. And so, but she thinks she can get 450 million pounds by the very top, those 100,000 paying an extra. I think there's a fairness argument for that. But Paul Johnson is one just saying it's going to take several years to do anyway, because you have to revalue those properties. And then secondly, he's describing it as a sticking plaster, and he's right, when you probably need more wholesale reform of the council tax. But the reason the successive governments have shied off in England from doing that is they're worried that the Daily Mail and the Telegraph will run around saying they're going to tax your conservatory or your patio or whatever it is, because there would be winners and losers. You could devise a system even that you had mainly winners, but the losers will shout at you louder than the winners will thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things is that you could have somebody who's quite elderly, who has lived in a house all of their lives. The price of the house has always increased every year, but asset-rich, but they don't have a lot of liquidity. So how does that impact on those people? How can they pay the tax? And I know Kevin's going to say they can pay it when they die. But
well, I've just read.
I don't agree with that.
I've read so many stories, and it's kind of been dizzying because I can never remember so much briefing and speculation before a budget. It's just reached fever pitch, and it's going over old grand U-turns. There's no doubt she thought and planned at one stage to break the manifesto promise and increase income tax by 2p, cut national insurance by 2p because you can raise more money that way. Of working pensioners that don't pay national insurance, landlords don't pay national insurance on the money they get from rent. So she could have done that, but she changed it on this tax. Your little old lady, as it were, living alone in a big. The proposal I read, if it's true, is you don't pay until you, one, sell the property, or two, die. And then it becomes a charge on your...
It's a cheery station, isn't it, really?
Well, I mean, we'll all die. I mean, what was it? Two things, certainly in life, tax and death.
Tax and death, and we're now bringing the two of them together in this budget, I think. We can firmly say.
Sums up the mood, doesn't it? There's other issues. How do you value? Do you actually go into a property? Do you do the percentage in the area? You might have a nice facade and it's falling apart at the back, etc.
Just go on Rightmove and you'll see all the values.
The point being, there will be appeals. It'll be a slow and laborious process for FG&H properties. Anyway, where do you get money now? Because the next thing they're talking about is changing thresholds again. We're already in the threshold.
We're in the
frozen threshold.
Yeah, we're in the period of the frozen Conservative thresholds.
So that money's already guaranteed. So where do you get money now?
So if she extends it, the Conservative threshold freeze was going to be from 21 to 28. She said she wouldn't go beyond 28 the last time. Now it looks like she'd go 28 to 30. But you're quite right. It won't bring the cash in now. It'll bring in later. Well, the Mail is now saying.
Just quickly on the mansion tax. Telegraph's running a story that both David Lammy and Keir Starmer have properties worth 1.5 million to 2 million and will escape the mansion tax because the talk was it might start at 1.5 million. It now looks like it might be 2 million. So they're just sneaking to the right side of it.
Yeah, anyway, I suspect that your senior editorial staff on the Telegraph are going to get hit, and that's why they're upset. They call it a Telegraph text. Anyway, the Daily Mail is now saying she's going to hit prudent savers because there's a £20,000 annual limit on ISA,
cash ISAs,
and share ISAs.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But she's going to reduce for cash ISAs from 20,000 to 12,000 because she believes the money shouldn't just sit in a bank account; it should be invested. But of course, banks will invest it. They don't just sit on a big pile of cash in the back office. But I thought we'd been here before, and she looked at it and then she backed off. But then, of course, we're in different territory because growth hasn't been as buoyant as she would have liked.
Cash ISAs with building societies provide your mortgages, right? So that's...
Yes.
And they're complaining about where do we get our mortgage money from if we don't... Anyway.
No.
And I'm just wondering, are we still in the realms of kite flying even at this late stage? Are we still getting things that are going out so that when it actually happens, people will say, oh, well, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, actually, because this hasn't happened and that hasn't happened. So I think we might be still in the realms of a little bit.
I'd like to know, which we can't see on the front here, how many people have £20,000 spare a year to put in an ISA? How many put that in a cash ISA? If you bring it down to 12,000, how many people would lose that 8,000 allowance?
And this has been the complaint, hasn't it? It was meant to encourage small savers, and actually it's the richer people who can afford to put the money in.
So exactly.
Who are you helping?
To get most of the tax relief.
In the meantime, Rachel Reeves has been speaking to the Parliamentary Labour Party tonight, suggesting they should back her budget on Wednesday, that politics is a team sport, and this should be seen as a package, not a pick and mix. Well, smorgasbord has been the word, hasn't it?
Yes.
Anyway, pick and mix it is not. Unite behind her, effectively.
Yeah, you would expect a Chancellor to say that, in fairness. It would be rather unusual, as you said, come and have a go at me. But you're saying, look, you might like 99 or 95%. You normally say 95 or 99% of it. Don't the 1 or 5%. Don't let that become the big issue. But there's a lot of unease amongst Labour MPs about this budget, about her, just as there is about the Prime Minister amongst Labour MPs now. So she's trying to prepare the political ground because she doesn't want it to be a disaster on Wednesday. Because most of the papers we review here, the Tory papers, the right-wing papers, they're going to have a go at her anyway. And she really doesn't want Labour MPs to feed into that, but
So are there concerns from some that the left wing of her party are now driving politics, including people like Torsten Bell, who's been doing a lot of this, in terms of the two-child benefit co-op, the inability to, reduce welfare spending. In fact, welfare spending is going to go up in this budget and so on. Is there? Who is the tail wagging the dog?
Well, she says she's going to have another go at welfare spending, but rather Mel Stride, the Shadow Chancellor, says it's terrible welfare spending going up under Labour. It soared when he was the head DWP secretary. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to control. But you're right. There's been a change, certainly on the two-child benefit cap, and that was being pushed not just by the left of the Labour Party, but the centre of the Labour Party. Some people in other parties too. Nigel Farage for a while until he backed off from it, because you can just see you're plunging kids into poverty.
I was just going to say, I mean, most people across politics don't want to hear of child poverty, and they don't want to see children in poverty. So I think that it will be broadly welcomed if it happens on Wednesday. However, I don't know where she's going to get the money, as it says in the Times, that she's going to find more money for the NHS and to bring down energy bills. It's, goodness, where's that coming from, given what we've said earlier on about where's the money coming from quickly? And bearing in mind, she always says she's not going to break her fiscal rules.
Well, there is speculation that she'll take VAT off energy. Now, whether that's, again, who do you read, who do you believe?
Yeah.
What might have been right at one time may not be right on the day, and I don't know. But you could make a cost of living. I'm helping you on the cost of living. But then if she does that on energy bills, and it's, I don't know, worth £100 a household or just below that per year, does she keep in place the temporary, that's almost become permanent, 5p cut in fuel duty, which costs her, the Chancellor of the Treasury, a fortune, and most of that goes to better off households.
Yeah, I think I'm making a living on speculating about this, to be fair. I think I've been talking about this for 6 years.
I know. Yeah, it's kind of dizzying, really, yeah.
The word that was used there, misogynistic, Rachel from Accounts. What do you feel about this idea that the way people have, described her? I mean, Rachel Thieves is another way. And what were you saying, Sir Keir Starmer's got names too, which you find legitimate, but you think Rachel from Accounts is derogatory, don't you? I mean... So,
I don't want to mansplain. I can't win here. I know I can't win.
There's no doubt Rachel Reeves has had a very, very difficult time. And if you look at her Prime Minister's questions at any time, she always looks very drained. And we had that incident where she was crying in the Commons and all of that. She's had a really difficult 6 months, 12 months, if you may say. And people, when they see somebody wounded in the way that she looks wounded, will go for you. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. And I'm not sure it's misogynistic, but people will go for you, because politics, I have to say, is a very brutal sport.
I think Rachel Thieves is not misogynistic, but Rachel from Accounts is, because you try to demean her as a woman.
Even though it started, in whatever she said she did at the Bank of England. I mean, it was all sort of the CV bits of it, wasn't it? Is that where it came from?
But it's painting her as somebody kind of irrelevant. While if you have a go at Starmer, whether you call him two-tier Keir or never hear Keir, there's nothing,
Do you think
having a go at his...
It has to rhyme not to be misogynistic.
Well,
is that what we're saying?
I like the Baroness's test. I'm not sure I am saying that, but I say...
Maguire, anyway. And all I could think of was the sire, but maybe we don't
Maguire. Maguire, you're fired.
Very quickly as well, just want to do the FT on the City Press to praise Rachel Reeves' budget. It looks like they might have escaped, some sort of banking tax or I mean, what does it say?
Yeah, I mean, this happens before any big announcement in government now, and that's just the way that the world works now. And then it's put actually out in the papers that she's expecting those who aren't hit hardest to come out and praise her budget.
Yeah,
that's the way the world works, I'm afraid.
It probably means it's going to continue getting a 20 billion or so bung of interest on their reserves, which was introduced after the banking crisis. I think it was George Osborne who did it. Most of the European countries, because banks were on the point of collapse, did it, but they've taken it away. But we still give them all this cash. But it's gone on for ages, that government trying to get people to say, what a great budget. Although I remember once when Gordon Brown was Chancellor, Charlie Whelan, who was his spin doctor, rang up Rodney Bickerstaff, who was the head of Unison, and said, could you attack the budget, please? Because he didn't want it to appear that he'd given away too much.
That's really interesting. Fascinating stuff. I was going to say talk to you about it tomorrow, but you're not here tomorrow. But somebody else will talk about it tomorrow. And on Wednesday, obviously, too. Lots more still to come. BBC bosses appear before MPs to answer claims of institutional bias and more, of course. We'll discuss that next.
I'm Cordelia Lynch, Sky's Asia correspondent, based here in Bangkok.
These slums, once gripped by fear and death.
There is far less bloodshed now, but it hasn't gone away.
Who's asking you to kill?
The police will give me the orders, and after I kill the target, I throw the gun away.
We try our best to uncover and unpick a fast-changing and deeply complex region.
These large waterways provided an excellent source of body disposal.
This is the Buriganga River, where victims who'd allegedly been shot dead were dumped.
Sheikh Hasina, how confident are you that she will stand trial?
She will stand trial, there's no doubt about that.
We're going to take you to the very heart of a criminal network, going undercover inside Southeast Asia's scam centres for the very first time.
We won't have any problems with police, it's okay. Just seen Imran Khan leave, and as we understand it, he's just been shot in the leg.
They have decided that the only way they'll allow elections is if I'm inside jail or killed.
Sky News get the full story first.
Chinese vessels start encircling the boat we're on, blocking its path.
The Chinese are now deploying water cannons, firing it directly towards our boat. We've discovered doctors across Delhi dishing out pills like this, claiming they will provide a lifelong cure for homosexuality.
Rohingya people fleeing an escalating civil war.
The situation here in Cox's is desperate. An already insecure place does feel a lot more precarious.
You can't rule out further tax rises.
It's exactly what she's going to have to do.
She'll be talking about that when it comes to the budget.
We'll be talking everything money as the Chancellor reveals what's in her budget.
This knows how it's going to play out if these tax rises are announced.
I'm Tom Cheshire, Sky's data and forensics correspondent. We gather, analyse and visualise data to tell data-driven stories.
I'm Stephen Murphy and I'm Sky's Ireland correspondent based here in Dublin.
The waters of Ireland and Britain should be home to great white sharks.
If there are great white sharks in this area, there's no reason they wouldn't come here to feed. It's basically a buffet on a beach.
This could be not only a record-breaking storm, but potentially the most dangerous storm ever to hit Ireland.
What might happen if Russia attacked the UK?
This is clearly an enormous show of force.
It is definitely out of the ordinary.
We ran a war game with former ministers back in the hot seat.
Ben Wallace.
Amber Rudd.
Jack Straw.
It's the kind of war game that's genuinely tested inside government.
The Russians are signalling that there may be an attack.
Russia knows our weaknesses, but do you? I'm Deborah Haynes. From Sky News and Tortoise, this is The War Game. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, welcome back. You're watching the press preview with me once again, Kevin Maguire and Baroness Arlene Foster. Kevin, BBC up before MPs, heard for the first time by the man who wrote the leaked memo, for example, and Robbie Gibb, the man who says he's been weaponised, and the chair. It was an interesting session. What did we learn?
It was. Well, I thought the most significant moment was Michael Prescott, whose 19-page memo was leaked. I was a journalism student with him many, many years ago in Cardiff University's media school. He said he didn't think the BBC was institutionally biased. Now, the whole thrust of the Telegraph attack has been the BBC is institutionally biased. And he was saying no, he was claiming, he was certain he had three specific problems, one on the Panorama Reddit, one on coverage of Israel in the Arabic service, and then one on trans areas. But he did not say it was institutionally biased, which was the Telegraph attack. Now, of course, the Telegraph has a dog in this fight because it sees the BBC as a rival both commercially in terms of delivering news and also ideologically because it doesn't share the Telegraph's worldview. I thought that was the most significant bit because we hadn't heard from him before. We hadn't heard from Robbie Gibb publicly before. But I found Prescott the most interesting to listen to.
Well, and he was very interesting. I mean, he didn't hide away from what he had to say, and he repeated what he had to say around those issues you've referred to. But I think the fact that Robbie Gibb give a very strong defence of himself. I mean, it's always very difficult to defend yourself, but he was basically saying, I don't even know where this is coming from. You know, I've been weaponised. And he has been weaponised to a certain extent by Ed Davey and people like that who immediately called for his removal when all of this came before.
When Robbie Gibb was head of BBC politics, effectively, I don't remember encountering bias or problems. But this is after he's served as Theresa May's Director of Communications in It's like putting Alistair Campbell on the BBC board. That would never have been acceptable. There may be a role in public life for Robbie Gibb, but it should never have been on the board of the BBC because he used to call himself as a true Thatcherite Tory. That's where he came from. But I can see
it doesn't necessarily make you a bad person, you know.
I know. I can see. I'll think about that.
What it is,
but not for very long.
If he has skills in this area, should he rule himself out completely just because
you should not go if you be the director of comms in a political position. You should not go onto the board of the BBC.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think if you can show that you are impartial and you work to that, and he's given a very strong defence of himself today, and seems to have been accepted by the MPs who were doing the interview.
Oh, we'll have to wait their report, but yeah.
Should we go straight to Doge? If we slightly touch on, I might come back to the story I've missed out. But anyway, here we go. Doge, still on the books for 8 months, but it's doing now, effectively. Is that the tale?
It's finished. I mean, all he's created, Elon Musk, is chaos. He's a kind of wrecker. But no, it's been wrapped up. I just think of all those reform-led councils around the UK which thought they'd come in and find loads of waste, people being equality officers they could get shot of. They won't. And Doge it's failed in the US, other than frightening people in their jobs.
Well, he was certainly a disruptor, there's no doubt about that. And the department seems to have lasted longer than he has, because he left his position quite some considerable time ago.
Who could have thought anything involving Donald Trump and Elon Musk could be chaotic and a failure? Who could have thought that?
Yeah, and when asked about the department, the statement came out that doesn't exist.
No. I love it.
I think that's as far as we go, isn't it?
Bye-bye.
Both of you, thank you very much indeed. One sentence prediction of what we'll get in the budget? One thing?
Oh, gracious.
Oh, God.
I think you're definitely going to see the two-child cap go.
I actually think that'll be a terrific thing if it goes, because it's heinous and callous.
OK, you said the same thing. Probably a safe bet at this stage. We'll see more from you later. Kevin, Arlene, thank you both very much indeed. Back with all the top stories. Our press preview continues.
We are under Israeli military restrictions in terms of some of the things that we can film, but it's important to be in there. What a slow drive for the president as he approaches his golf club. 4 more years! Free wherever you get your news. I'm Mark Stone and I'm Sky's correspondent based here in Washington, DC.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.